And good afternoon, everyone. This is Kilo Charlie 9 Victor Kilo Victor. My name is Jim, and this is the Friday afternoon QSO-VLOG network. This is a control network, directed network, and I am net control. If at any time during this net should an emergency arise, please notify net control, and we'll stand by and allow those in need to access this frequency. Is there any priority or emergency traffic at this time? And hearing nothing, we will continue. This net is all about ham radio and being all that you can be. That's what our QSO-VLOG network is all about, trying to help people achieve the best sounding station possible. Thanks for dropping by. FYI, my background is 50 years in commercial broadcasting, where a lot of big bucks are spent on audio processing equipment and getting it set up correctly to get the loudest, best sounding station possible. Well, long story short, when I became a ham radio operator, I could hear immediately a large discrepancy in on-air technical proficiency. A lot of stations were running with very poor mic equalization, very muddy, with little articulation. And as I continued to work stations, I realized most of the stations were also running very low average peak modulation, many around 30% of average peak modulation. So with my background, I felt I could help, or at least try. I knew that most modern-day ham transceivers did have enough onboard processing equipment to be able to overcome most all of the problems. So it would be just a matter of developing a generic dynamic range setup procedure and then adjusting the onboard EQ gear. And so I started the QSO-VLOG network with the phrase, if you have a radio you want to check out, give us a shout. And today we're currently featuring over 2,200 QSO-VLOG AIRCHECK recordings. And you can access these recordings by going to YouTube and doing a call letter search for KC9VKV followed by the word logbook. That's Kilo Charlie 9 Victor Kilo Victor followed by the word logbook. And we also have a new feature called KC9VKV Highlights. That's Kilo Charlie 9 Victor Kilo Victor followed by the word highlights on a YouTube search. These are some of our less technical and more human nature philosophical kinds of QSOs. That's KC9VKV Highlights on a YouTube search. Both KC9VKV Logbook and KC9VKV Highlights are segments of our main YouTube page of Jim's Radio Story, where we celebrate a 50-year career in commercial broadcasting with a 50-year journey from a 5-watt powered radio station as a 12-year-old to production director of a major 50,000-watt AM broadcast facility. And the thing that brings this truly a unique story is that I have the actual audio masters from all along the way, over 2,600 shows, including many full-length major music concerts and radio productions. And you'll have to check it out and subscribe. Jim's Radio Story on a YouTube search. Our mission statement for the QSO-VLOG network is to establish a higher technical level of radio transmissions of the human voice by the intelligent utilization of available electronics in current amateur radio transceivers. Our setup procedure, while generic in nature, converts the average 10 dB dynamic range transmitter with an average 30% of peak modulation to a much fuller 3 dB dynamic range with an average 80 to 85% of peak modulation. This substantial boost in audio transmit level is extremely beneficial in high noise levels and heavy QRM. It allows you to punch through when others fail. The second part of our transmitter setup has to do with proper mic equalization. We're looking to optimize the transmitted voice for a higher degree of intelligibility through the use of EQ patterns that bring out the articulation aspects of the human voice. Again, why need to hear the voice if you can't understand the words? Also this afternoon on the receive side, we're running 4 Internet SDR receivers, monitoring New York, Pennsylvania, Georgia, and Virginia, trying to get the best copy from our 100-watt friends. Now the audio from these 4 SDR receivers comes up on a 6-position rotary selector. Also on this selector is our local receiver audio. And today, our local receiver is running 3 large 10-foot vertical magnetic loop antennas, one aimed at 0 degrees, one aimed at 90 degrees, and number 3 is aimed at 134 degrees. These are run as a directional scanner array with a manual voting system 6-position rotary selector. Also today, on the transmit side, we'll be running our no SWR specially oriented resonant dipole antenna. One leg of this resonant dipole runs broadside to Montreal, Canada. The other leg runs broadside to Miami, Florida. As we were constructing our station, our mantra was 20 over from Montreal to Miami with a hotspot through the Carolinas. And although conditions may vary, the general performance of this antenna supports its mission. Also today, we'll be running our input source indicator. So when we switch from an internet SDR receiver to our local receiver, you'll be able to hear the switch and see the switch. You'll have to check it out on our YouTube QSO-VLOG video. And as we come together for another Friday afternoon QSO-VLOG network, let us pause just a moment for the amateur radio operator's prayer. Lord, we pray for clear 20 over S9 communications today. Let all our transmissions fill the air and reach their destinations QSA-5 to be understood by all. And as we pray for good radio conditions, let us also pray for good human conditions. During this time of pandemic that has challenged us all, we pray that you'll protect everyone, especially our elderly. And also, Lord, we seek your divine intervention to bring peace to a very divided United States. As we go through a very conflicting time in America's history, with dark clouds all around, we pray that you'll reduce life's daily political QRM between our brothers and sisters. And through your love and guidance, show us the way to find peace and harmony. Help us to communicate with one another 20 over S9. Thank you, Lord, and God bless and protect America. Amen. To continue, since this part of the band has many nets trying to operate in a very confined area, I would appreciate all stations checking into our QSO-VLOG net to keep their bandpass to no wider than 100 to 2900. And again, please, no wider than 100 to 2900. This is the Friday afternoon QSO-VLOG network, and now let's check in and see if Charlie, K1GZL, is on frequency to bring us up to date on the latest 40-meter band propagation. Charlie's QTH is up north in northern New Hampshire, near the Canadian border. Charlie, got a copy?
Charlie, got a copy?
Yes, Jim, I have a very good copy. You're running a 6 to a 9, but I'm picking you up direct from your home there in southern Indiana, near Louisville, Kentucky, direct, and a good solid signal. However, it's such a beautiful day out here, I should admit. Beautiful day. It's all the way up to 70 degrees after a low of 41 or a +5 Celsius. And we had a wonderful undercast, a layer of clouds below us as we're at 2,030 feet above sea level. So I'll turn it back to you, Jim, and see if you have any good copy. I think probably through Milford, Pennsylvania, KC9VKV, K1GZL.
Roger, Charlie. I am copying you on Milford at about 30 over. Roger.
At about 30 over. Roger.
Okay, thank you very much. I don't have very much this Friday. However, I did get on 20 meters early this morning. I mean 40 meters early this morning, and I tried to see how much DX. There were a few loud VKs coming in, but they were all tied up in large groups. And being a diabetic and insulin taking, I didn't have time to get into that. However, my quad on 40 is still out of commission. All I have is the antenna I'm using right now. Is 3 elements shooting only straight up in the air, designed for from northern New Hampshire down to about central Connecticut for the loudest. But I did pick up a mobile in northeastern Wisconsin, or as they would say, Wisconsin, and he was running just 25 watts, and he was out in northern Wisconsin. So I made a very short recording of his mobile signal with 25 watts, and let me see if I have him on here. Wait a minute.
Wisconsin. Name here is George Easy Oscar. Robert George Easy. I am running in 857 in my 2022 whatnot. And it is cool. We had some very hot flights. Fine business on the Quebec location. You are near an armchair copy there, Charles. Near an armchair copy. With that, I'm going to have to go QRT and push down the road here and grab some breakfast. A very nice QSO, Charlie. Thank you for picking me up. This will be Whiskey 7, Golf Lima Sierra.
Okay, that was W7GLS Mobile in northeastern Wisconsin. I hope you came through okay, Jim. K1GZL.
Roger, Roger, Charlie. That was George W7GLS in Wisconsin. So I've got him in the book. Roger, Roger.
I've got him in the book. Roger, Roger.
Roger, Roger. That was George, and his audio was excellent, absolutely excellent there. So I thought I would put him on. I was hoping to get some South Pacific, but those that I heard on were tied up in large, and I mean large groups. Go ahead, 40.
Roger, Roger. Yes, I know. Sometimes the AM guys get in those groups, and each one takes about half an hour, and by the time it comes around, it's 7 hours later, Roger.
It's 7 hours later, Roger.
It sure is. I'll tell you. It goes very, very extensively. It just keeps going and going. Okay, look, I don't have there very much this week. So I'll have Captain Mike flying in the Boeing 767. I've got a schedule with him on Wednesday morning as he flies from Sacramento, the capital of California, to Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. And usually is anywhere from 34 to 39,000 feet, passing over the ground as he heads east at around 600 miles per hour. And temperatures running about 40 to 65 or 70 below zero Fahrenheit. And a heck of a nice fellow. And when he visited here last November with his co-pilot he had at that time, Jay, it was a wonderful, wonderful get-together. A wonderful get-together, and you'll never meet a nicer person. Okay, Jim, it's great. So 73, good luck. Have a wonderful week, and stay healthy. Stay healthy. KC9VKV, K1GZL.
Roger, Roger, Charlie, right back to you there, sir. Stay healthy, and we'll see you next week, next Friday afternoon, hopefully. 73 up that way. Just a reminder, this is the Friday afternoon QSO-VLOG Network. My name is Jim, KC9VKV, better known in some circles as Dr. VKV, and we are recording now live till 5, so if you have a radio you want to check out, give us a shout. We'll post this recording up on YouTube in the next couple of days. So when you go to YouTube, just do a call letter search for KC9VKV followed by the word logbook. That's Kilo Charlie 9 Victor Kilo Victor followed by the word logbook. That will take you to our YouTube QSO-VLOG page, where we're currently featuring over 2,200 QSO-VLOG AIRCHECK recordings. This recording will be cut number 1 in that series, and we'll have it uploaded by noon tomorrow. So without further ado, let's open it up. If you have a radio you want to check out, give me a shout.
If you have a radio you want to check out, give me a shout.
This is the Friday afternoon KC9VKV QSO-VLOG net. If you have a radio you want to check out, give me a shout.
If you have a radio you want to check out, give me a shout.
Well, I'm not hearing anything at the moment. I've gone around the horn twice and did not hear anyone. Let's go around one more time. This is KC9VKV recording now live till 5. So if you have a radio you want to check out, give me a shout.
If
Yeah, we went around one more time and no copy there. We're going to go around one more time, then I think we're going to shut it down. I got to go fishing. So this is KC9VKV, Friday afternoon, QSO-VLOG.net. If you have a radio you want to check out, give me a shout.
If you have a radio you want to check out, give me a shout.
And I hear no one, so we're going to shut her down. This is KC9VKV, returning the frequency back to normal amateur radio use. Kilo Charlie 9, Victor, Kilo Victor, clear. Alrighty, let's see, signal's still up?
Yep, sounds great down here.
Great. And right now we're talking with Spike Odell from WGN fame. Spike, what I'm really interested in is how radio came to you as a child or as a young person. How did that come about?
Well, I always tell the story, and it's on my QRZ page too. When I was a kid, 9 or 10 years old, or actually before that, my dad put a big shortwave radio in my bedroom at night upstairs because there was no place else to put it. So I turned that thing on and played with it and listened to people from all over the world, and it just I was taken by all those voices from overseas, and I just thought that'd be the coolest thing to be able to throw my voice out over the air and have somebody listen to it, and that's, I guess, kind of what started it all.
Roger, did you have an interest in, well, I know in my case, tearing things up and then fixing them electronically?
I did. I thought that was a very cool thing when I was a kid, to see somebody take a radio apart and have it in 115 pieces on the table, put it back together again and have it work. Unfortunately, I wasn't blessed with that ability. I was horrible. So I let somebody else do all the fixing, and I just stuck to the talking.
Roger, and tell me about your first paying job in radio.
My first job in radio was at a little station called WEMO in East Moline, Illinois. I just graduated from a little 6-week broadcast course at a vocation school. They gave you a certificate and a pat on the back, and they said, go get them. Go conquer the world of radio. So I tried to get a job, but everybody wanted somebody with experience. So I watched this little radio station being built in my hometown. My dad actually knew the general manager, so my dad kept saying, go down there, knock on the door. So I did. He wanted experience. So I went back a couple weeks later, and he says, no, we need experience. Come back when you've got some experience under your belt. So I thought, well, I'll never get that job. I listened to it go on the air one night. It was a Friday night. Went on the air about 6 o'clock at night. I listened to it all night long. And I went to bed that night. The next morning at 7:30, the phone rang, and the general manager says, you still want a job on the radio? I said, yeah. He says, if you're here in an hour, you're on the air. Boom! I was there. I went and did my first 8-hour shift, went home happy as a clam, and threw up.
Oh, Roger. Yes, I was going to ask you what the feeling was when you were on the air. I know great exhilaration, but at the same time, you just don't want to mess up, Roger.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. And it wasn't my kind of station, if you will. I mean, I was playing Eddie Williams, Perry Como, and, I wanted to play the Beatles, the Stones, but it didn't matter. I was on the air. I was getting some experience. That station also allowed me to, work the boards. I worked the network for we carried the St. Louis Cardinals at that time, so I was a board op for that. And after about 7 or 8 months of working there, the guy came to me and he says, Spike, I'm going to have to let you go. And I said, why? What happened? He said, well, you didn't do anything. He says, we just don't have the money to pay you. We don't have any revenue coming in. And I thought, well. And then I just asked him, I said, is it okay if I work here for free so I can get some experience? He said, you do that? I said, yeah, I'll work here for free. So he says, well, if you'd like to. So I worked another couple months there for free.
And that is the way it is when you get radio in your blood. You just, I know in my case, I had a little station in, Belglade, Florida, Pahokee, Florida. Things are hokey in Pahokee, but this was a town, I guess, of about 4,000, right in the southern part of Lake Okeechobee, and that's where I started. Well, where did you go after your first station there?
Well, I was working at the factory at that time. I was a security guard. I wore a little uniform like Barney Fife. So on the way to work one day, I had heard they needed a weekend person at a station up the street. So I stopped there on the way just to drop off a tape, and the program director heard my name outside of his office door, and he walked out. He says, "You're Spike O'Dell?" I said, "Yeah." He says, and here I am in my uniform and everything, and my lunch bucket, going to work, dropping him off a tape. And he says, "You're looking for a job?" I said, "Yeah." He says, "Can you be on the air tonight?" And I said, "Well, I get off at 11. He says, "Good enough. You're on at midnight." So there's that story too.
It's certainly is opportunity knocking and being ready to accept the challenge, Roger.
Oh yeah, just have audition tape will travel. By the way, the rest of that story from my first job is when I went to work at WGN. My very first day up in Chicago, they show me in my office, and I open the door, and there's a big pile of mail already on the table. Letters and cards of well-wishing and all that stuff. And one of the letters I got was from my first general manager, who couldn't afford to pay me. He says, "Congratulations on your big job at WGN. Included, please find a $100 bill. I need to buy you dinner."
Oh, that's great. That is great. And also it indicates that you don't want to burn any bridges, as you go up the career ladder, because, it is a small world.
Never, ever burn a bridge, because the guy who fired you might be the guy who hires you the next time.
That's right. So now, when you first went to WGN, you were afternoon drive, or how'd that go?
Yeah, the legendary Wally Phillips was cutting back his schedule, and they just hired me to kind of fill in when Wally didn't want to work. Wally could kind of do his own thing, so Wally would work sometimes 2 hours in the afternoon, sometimes 1 hour. And when he didn't want to work, I had to fill in the rest. That's how my career at that station began.
Roger, and you were 13 years on the afternoon shift?
13 years on the afternoon shift until our morning man, Bob Collins, unfortunately was killed in a mid-air plane collision. I actually had the unfortunate job of announcing that on the air one afternoon, and the next morning I was doing his show and continued to do so for 9 years.
Roger, yes. And Steve and Johnny, now I first went, for WGN on a loop antenna. I had a loop antenna oriented just right that I could get WGN on one side and WSB in Atlanta on the other. And I became familiar with Steve and Johnny, and they dearly love you.
In the morning, I would always fill in for Bob anyway when he was on vacation. When I did the afternoon show, when he'd go, I did the morning show. So, forever and ever, I was coming in at 5 in the morning and relieving them. And they still are great friends. Steve, I used to listen to him when he was on WLS, but long before I even knew I was going to be on the radio. He worked at WLS, did the 10 to 2 o'clock in the morning shift, I think is what it was. So, the very first time I ever called a radio station, it was his show. Little did I know we'd be working together.
Roger, yes, a beautiful couple there. Really enjoyed them. And so what did you find the most difficult thing about the life in Chicago and big-time radio?
Well, I remember big-time radio going from a medium market to, the second or third largest market in the nation. I remember being interviewed for the job by they had all the bosses there, the program director, the assistant, the general manager. They were all there, the sales manager. And I remember the big boss from upstairs on the 19th floor. He was there, and he says, Spike, he says, if you worked here, would you be intimidated? And I thought, what's the right answer here? How do I answer this? Do I be cocky and say no, or what? And I thought for a second, and I said, Yeah? Yeah, I am a little bit intimidated. He says, good, you should be.
Roger that. Roger that. I don't know how I would have answered that, frankly. I'd follow in your situation there, but the ratings, live and die by the ratings in a city like that, Roger?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I mean, there for a while it was every 3 months you'd get the ratings with the Arbitron, but then towards the end of my career, it was the PPMs, the personal people meters, and I was rated. I mean, I could go back and check my ratings for every hour of the day. Every day I was rated. So when you live and die by a rating point, which is what so many people do, it's a little nerve-wracking sometimes. There's a little pressure, but fortunately, I was never. I was second place in the market overall for my time slot, 12 plus, 2 or 3 times over 22 years. But the rest of the time, we were always number 1.
Roger that. Now, and also in a market like that, you had engineers that did all the board work, Roger?
Oh yeah, they wouldn't let me touch anything. I would sit there on my hands, and if I scratched my nose, they'd push a button.
Right. The only control you had was a cough button?
I had a cough switch, and I could punch up the people on the phone on the board in front of me. I could go to whatever line I wanted to. So that's the only thing I could do: a cough switch and phone line.
Roger. And what provoked you to decide to retire?
My wife and I, we always wanted to retire when we were age 55 years old. We always said that for years and years, for probably 20 years. So we made a conscious effort when we went to Chicago. And granted, the money was a lot bigger in Chicago than it was in a small town. So we took a lot of that money and invested pretty well. Put it in savings accounts, and we got it to the point to where we could actually retire at age 55. And the market was bad when I did, but we talked to the money people, and they said, yeah, if you're careful, you can do it. So we did. We pulled the plug. I said, I'm going to retire at 55. I told everybody that for years, and I did.
Super wise decision, man. Leave yourself some time to enjoy life. That's the thing about being on the air. You are responsible for every second that you're on the air, and that kind of stress can really get to you, Roger.
Oh, Roger, yeah, there's times where you don't sleep at night. I tell you when I was always lucky because talking and gabbing and just chitter chatter, I never ran out of anything to say. I went to detention in high school for that, and they ended up paying me money for that. But there were times where you felt the stress. When I went to the morning show, we had a meeting a couple of months after the morning show, and I was told that my morning show, the revenue for that show, was responsible for almost 40% of what money the station makes. I woke up in a cold sweat the next morning. 2 o'clock in the morning, 1 o'clock in the morning. I couldn't sleep. I'm thinking, oh my gosh, I can't be stupid. I can't fail. And that scared me to death. That's when it all kind of sunk in on me.
Roger, I know even today I'll have, I don't call them nightmares, but I'll wake up in the middle of the night or I have dreams about being at a station and trying to find that next piece of music to get ready to put on the air. And unfortunately, I think most of my dreams, they're talk radio stations because I can't find music anywhere.
Yeah, I know what you mean. By the way, W4, WGN, for identification with KC9VKV.
Roger. We are speaking with the legendary Spike Odell from WGN fame, and we're listening to his actual ham radio. Tell me about your ham radio station, Spike.
First job where the guy couldn't pay me. I never got fired. I made it through. I should have been fired 2 or 3 times probably, but I never got fired. And everybody in this business usually does get fired a few times.
Roger, we might have doubled just a little bit there. I was saying we're speaking with the legendary Spike Odell from WGN fame. And Spike, tell us a little bit about your ham radio station.
Well, I'm a recent ham. After being retired here for 6 or 7 years, I thought, how come I'm not on a ham radio? I've always wanted to do that. I passed my code when I was a kid, so I went back and got my license. about a year and a half ago. I got my general the first time, and then I went back and got my extra a couple months later. It's very modest here. I'm in an HOA situation, so I can't have a big antenna. I just got a little 87-foot wire that goes out of my ham shack window over to the top of a tree by the lake, Old Hickory Lake here in Middle Tennessee. And my ground wire is wrapped around a brick and thrown about 50 feet out into the water. I've got an ICOM 7300 that I'm using now. I've also got a Yaesu FTX 1200. I power it up with a ALS 600, and my tuner is a MFJ 962D. So it's pretty modest, but it does a pretty good job for what it is, I think.
Roger, Roger. And the microphone you're using now?
The microphone is a Sennheiser 421-2.
Roger, Roger. Well, listen, I appreciate your time, Spike. Did a long time want to speak with you on the air and include you in the QSO segments, Roger?
Roger, hey, yeah. Always good to talk to a fellow radio geek. You know what? We can tell stories for hours. Half of them are lies, but who cares?
Exactly. Spike Waddell, thank you, sir.
You bet, man. Thank you so much.
Now, I'm trying to start this thing with a little finesse. It used to be I would have to get right up in the computer to hit the start. And so here would be this extreme close-up to start a piece, and not the best way to do it. So now I've got the mouse strung out so I can do it from remote, and it's not half as bad, but the problem is I can't really see that it's actually rolling, but I guess it is. It says capture. I guess that's me. That's us, actually. All right, JR, start it.
Start? No, you started.
No, you start. Well, we could always start it with your career down in the Bahamas, keeping us safe from all of the spies and military adversaries that you had to protect the country with down there.
All top secret stories. I can't. If I was to tell you, then I have to kill you.
Yeah, Roger, Roger. I understand that. I'm prepared to sacrifice, though. I would sacrifice myself for the sake of continuity. How many years did you serve our country down there?
What country down there? I keyed on you.
I said, how many years did you serve our country down there, keeping us safe?
24 months. I did most of the saving the country in yellow swimming trunks with a big jar of what they call rum swizzle.
Would you say what that was again? What was that item you had?
I used to drink a drink down there called rum swizzle. Rum swizzle. And I'll tell you what, it didn't take much of that to make you really brave.
Roger, I just couldn't catch the rum part. I got the swizzle, and I was thinking, I won't say what I thought it was, but now I'm a big rum fan, but I never swizzled with it. How does that work?
Hey, Kevin, did you say something? Did not. I don't know what was in it. There was rum, and they had a stick that they went and got from a certain tree, and I used to remember the name of that tree, but I don't remember it anymore. But anyway, it had to get from the joint of one of the limbs, where it had 3 little sprigs on the bottom of it.
they cut that off, let it dry. God knows, I hope they washed it. And then they put that in there and run it back and forth in that jar of junk, rum, and I can't remember everything that was in it. But it was real tasty. And about 3 of them, if you drank 3 of them, say after dinner, say you're on the beach with a bunch, looking for spies trying to snorkel up on the shore. If you drank about 3 of them after 6 o'clock, usually not because you wanted to, but you ended up spending the night on the beach.
You were beached on the beach in protection of the country, looking for spies snorkeling up. Where they would be counter spy. No, they'd be just spies. You'd be the counter spy, I guess. And did your rum swizzle? Did it have an actual swizzle stick in it, or what?
No, the sticks is what they stirred it with. You couldn't shake it, stir it. Anything like that. You had to, in order for it to be an official rum swizzle, the bartender had to have one of them sticks, and he just run it back and forth in his hand, and that's how he mixed it.
Oh, Roger. Now obviously, you would have to get your rum swizzle to go. Is that right?
No, fortunately, there was a bar right on the beach. And he'd flash his lights to let you know he's getting ready to close for the evening, and you'd run up there and buy a pitcher of that stuff.
But you'd have to bring your own container and swizzle sticks?
Well, you didn't bring your own swizzle stick, because once he stirred it, that was it. Yeah, you had to bring your own container. And, as a side note, you do not want to put rum swizzle in anything that's plastic.
Roger, it would just eat a hole right through it.
Yeah, but it was okay for you to drink it and put it in your gut. But no, that's right. It would deform. Before you drank it all, it'd deform that plastic container. So you had to have glass, or we never tried metal. Like a bucket or something. We always brought, big glass thing.
This potion was somewhat akin to a sulfuric acid solution. Well, I know that you served your country diligently. Did you ever have any time to enjoy things down there?
Whiskey bottles around, so if you didn't have a glass container, he'd transfer it over to that whiskey bottle for you. But I'll tell you what, it put all your sails in the wind when you drank it. Three of them. Of course, we're talking pitchers, so I guess I never thought of that before. But yeah, 3. You bought the stuff by the pitcher. You never did buy it by the glass. So I guess 3 pitchers of that stuff kind of explained why you spent the night on the beach.
Roger, and I know you spent a lot of time in service to your country down on the beach, protecting us from the would-be spy snorkelers, as it were. But did you ever have a chance to have any fun down there?
Not really. I was constantly on duty. I was very dedicated to protecting the country and everything, which sometimes got in the way because in the summertime you had over 60,000 tourists, most of them women. It was a big summer place for college girls and office girls that weren't married and stuff, and sometimes they got in your way of doing that.
Right. Well, I can see where you would have to have, constant investigations as to what these ladies were about, and if there were any spies amongst them.
Oh yeah, even had to body search a few of them, but that's a whole different story.
Yeah, that's, well, at least you didn't waterboard any of them, did you?
They had waterboards back in. Nobody surfed or anything. There were no waves around Bermuda that were tall enough to surf. And bodyboards, boogie boards, and stuff like that weren't around.
Roger, probably the closest you came to waterboarding was wet T-shirts.
I have to tell you the truth, I don't remember that. I don't remember them doing that down there. Sometimes they just lose their top. Had a lot of that. Had a lot of sunbathing, losing their top. But I don't remember wet T-shirts.
Yeah, Roger. And that probably was not one of the highlights down there. I mean, there's much more interesting situations, I guess. And did you ever catch any spies down there, JR?
No, I did such a good job. I guess they stayed away. I interviewed a bunch of would-be female spies, but come find out they were just a college student or something. But no, I don't really remember ever catching one. I did catch something down there, but it wasn't a spy.
I wasn't going to mention that, but, well, maybe we shouldn't anyway. But how long did you train to actually be a spy catcher?
Oh, I was pretty much, I no sooner got to Bermuda and took me about a day at the beach, and all of a sudden I was certified.
You had all of the qualifications just in a cram course there about how to detect foreign spies. And well, again, JR, I want to compliment you on your fine service to the country. And you spent, as you said, 2 years down there diligently chasing those spies, would-be spies, alleged spies, as we want to keep this thing in a proper terminology. And again, thank you, JR, for your splendid service. And this is KC9VKV in QSO with N9GTO. Good evening.
Good evening, sir.
And we are gathered here on 3815 for what purpose?
Have a little bit of chit-chat and talk about Milton Metz and talk about audio and talk about radio and just have a whole lot of fun.
Well, which one of those is going to come first?
Let's talk about Milton Metz. When did you first meet Milton, over?
I first met Milton in 1970 when I went to work for WHAS, and he was already a legend in 1970.
Now, at the time in 1970, was he doing a morning or afternoon show?
He was doing an evening show. He was doing his call-in Metz Here show, about 7 p.m. to, I think, 11 or 10, thereabouts.
Wow. And how old were you then at 1970?
Oh, gosh, I don't know. But I wasn't, I was over 21 for sure. I knew what I was doing.
Okay. All right. Well, we don't want to divulge too much, but anyway, wow. Wasn't he a weatherman for a while there?
Yeah, he functioned in TV just as well as in radio, but I didn't have much to do with the video aspect of WHAS, only in the radio side and in the production. And I was in North Carolina at the time at a station in, well, actually I was working for a group of stations called Smiles Broadcasting, which owned the legal limit of radio stations at that time, which was 6. And I was time to move along, and I had the option of going to Des Moines, Iowa, or Louisville, Kentucky, and I lived in Nashville as a kid of 16, and I worked for Reno Radio in Nashville, which was the only country music station in the country music capital of the world at that time. Of course, I wasn't a personality as such. I was a glorified board operator for, they would run remotes, quite a lot of remotes on the weekends, and so I would be board op for the remotes, which is the guy that puts in the commercials and reads the news and stuff like that. But anyway, so I'd lived in Nashville, and so I had the opportunity of living in Louisville or in Des Moines, Iowa, so I picked Louisville. Roger, Roger.
Well, let's go back just a little bit. When you were in Nashville at the time in the 60s, late 60s, Nashville, country music, I understand that you had the Grand Ole Opry, and they would be on WSM, is that right?
Oh, Roger, Roger, yeah. And it was really amazing because in the daytime, all those 50 kW stations were playing MOR music. But at nighttime, WSM became the country giant, and WLAC became the R&B giant. But in the daytime, they were both like MOR music.
Right. Yeah, and then you had what a lot of people don't know, you had the big swing music, the big band. You had a country swing before, in the early 1900s, and you had the big band era. So like the different ones, the big Glenn Miller and all those as well, and you had various split-offs. And country music back then with the Grand Ole Opry, it was a little bit different than it is today. Everything seems to have taken a different direction at very times of the year. 73, 75, 77. After the death of the king as well. But getting back to Milton Metz, 95 years of being on this earth, that is something else to, he passed away on January the 12th of 2017 at 95 years old. So I would say that you really, at the time you were young, you met a guy that was awesome, and you had a good career, and you was able to go on with it. You couldn't ask for anything else. Being young like that's kind of like serving the apprenticeship. Over.
Oh, Roger, Roger. Yeah, I came to WHAS for a reason, and one of those reasons was that I was technically inclined as well as commercially producing commercials and programs. So I had a technical understanding that was as equal with my production. And at the time, WHAS was going through a shall we say, a growing curve, and that the station manager, Hugh Barr, was interested in what was called combo at the time. And combo was the ability for the on-air jock to run his own control board, and for production people to be able to operate their own control boards. To that point, the engineers had jurisdiction over almost all moving parts, and it was their hands that were at the controls. And so Hugh wanted a more, how shall we say, gliding kind of a production on the air, as opposed to a kind of a stilted, you tell them what and then they have to do kind of thing. Whereas if you're doing your own thing, it's going to be a lot smoother. And he recognized that. So I was like the canary in the cage in that I would work with 3 engineers doing my controls in the control room, Studio A, master control, and so I would work on a daily basis with 3 engineers on 2-hour shifts, and it was a matter of them, well, I was kind of trailblazing for Hugh as far as being the canary in the cage, as to reading between the lines as far as what the engineers were saying to management and what really was happening there. And so it was kind of like blazing a trail between two unions, my AFTRA and their engineers union. And you have to be very careful when you're running between two unions there, because either one of them, if you screw up, will step on you.
So basically what you're saying is you were riding the fence.
No, I was in the trenches, actually, you know, trying to get a job done, and it became a situation where you know, not only was I telling them what to do, but it became necessary to tell them how to do, because you know, it was a matter of efficiency, and we developed quite a few production techniques. One was called AIRCHECK, which is basically two Ampex stereo machines lashed together that you could edit machine to machine in a way that was similar to video editing. And we saved a lot of time making audio edits that way versus you know, doing a splice edit.
So basically you were there when they became the 24-hour operation.
Roger, yes. And we again tried to facilitate everybody's situation, you know, and obviously when one union acquiesces on a particular point, it usually involves money. You know, and so it's just a matter of time and money. And eventually Hugh got his combo on the air and in production.
That was amazing. At the time, it was ruled by the Bingham family, which owned and published the Louisville Courier Journal and Louisville Times. Wow. Such a big family and a big thing going on, and all the changes that took part. Wow. Just absolutely amazing. But at the time, at that era, it was a great, great station to listen to. Over?
Roger, yes, it was, had been for many years a clear channel station, and that's when clear channel actually meant something. That you know, they had a signal over 3/4 of the United States, and that was one of the reasons that I decided not to go to L.A. or Chicago or New York, because I could compete on a national level in radio without having to go to those metropolises, because WHAS did penetrate 3/4 of the country, and so that was the neat part about a clear channel station. Unlike you know, this company that took the name Clear Channel, which is the height of I don't know what you would call that, but certainly they never lived up to their name, Clear Channel. You know, and then when people realized what a terrible company they were, they just changed their name and started anew all over again.
Now, what is the MOR music, the old line MOR music? What is the meaning of that? In the early 70s, they modernized the MOR music. What was that?
So basically a general type of music programming, you know, not rock and roll, but middle of the road. That's you know what MOR stood for, middle of the road. And you know, it was before talk radio, and you know, it just unfortunately fortunately for me, I spent 50 years in broadcasting when creativity meant something. Today, there is no creativity in radio. Clear Channel, iHeartRadio has almost single-handedly destroyed the commercial radio operation in the America.
And and we'll pause for station identification. This is N9GTO with KC9VKV.
KC9VKV with N9GTO, and we were talking about commercial radio and WHAS and Milton Metz, and like I say, Milty had a great life, and you know, the opportunity for that kind of a life in broadcasting today is almost non-existent, not possible, because of the elements that are involved in the ownership, mainly iHeartRadio. 1,400 radio stations are sitting on the precipice of disaster. They are sitting underfunded. iHeartRadio has managed to pull every cent that they can out of these, just suck the blood right out of these 1,400 radio stations, and they were caught recently trying to smuggle $20 million out of the country from another organization of the iHeart umbrella that actually made some money, and they were trying to shelter that money from their investors by getting it out of the country into offshore bank accounts, and unfortunately for them, their investors caught wind of it, and because it was an illegal act, the investors sought to retrieve all of their financial considerations that were outstanding due immediately, because iHeart was trying to become involved in illegal operations, and they went to a judge in Texas and sought relief from the possibility of trying to repay all this money that they have no way of repaying. And the judge sided with them that they would give iHeartRadio some more time to come up with the capital, which is where they are at the moment.
Wow, sounds like they're living on borrowed time, and that's just my point of view of it. Switching gears just a little bit, do you remember when Gary Burbank, when he left WAKY in '73, he had an elaborate prank about pretending he was fatally shot by a disgusted listener? Do you remember that?
Well, let's see. Was that who shot JR?
I'm not sure. At that point, he moved to New Orleans for a brief stint with WNOE in New Orleans. Of course, Burbank was all over the place. You know, and he was having some fun, and I think he wound up back at WHAS. After it was all said and done, or?
Well, I think he went to, let's see, he went to Canada also there on that trip, and then they came back from Canada to HAS, as I recall the situation. But Gary is also one of the greatest broadcasters, I think, that this country's ever seen, or even the world, actually. There, I've never run across a radio quote announcer that is more creative than Gary. He would do 15 bits a day religiously, and there's nobody that does 15 pieces of production a day for their show.
Oh, I agree. I enjoyed the Earl Pitts, the full-blooded redneck who makes a daily commentary on everything from political to family and friends.
Roger, well, he had a whole cast of characters, well-rounded, and the thing about it is, though, that Gary was, let's see how to put this, high-strung, as well as he, might be that creative, and it would not be uncommon. I would come in to the production room after he finished, and there would be a chair hanging out of the wall baffle. Now, for those that don't know what a wall baffle is, in radio studios or in audio studios, they put rounded baffles on the walls, which are like rounded plywood pieces that make the sound, instead of bouncing back and forth, it diverts the sound, and thereby minimizes echoes and things. And so these are basically what you would say plywood baffles, and so there would be a chair sticking out of the baffle. That somebody had gotten so upset that they had thrown a chair into the baffle. Just one of the things, if it had been a person, man, it would be the job for the EMS for sure.
Oh, yeah, and he used to be Reverend Deuteronomy Skaggs, the preacher that encouraged all his listeners to dig deep in their jeans and pull out the greens. Skaggs and old Bernice and all of them, they was a character in those days, and old Ranger Bob, and oh, Lord, on and on and on. So like you said, 15 stints a day. That was a hell of a thing.
Roger. KC9VKV with N9GTO. I was one afternoon walking to the parking lot with Gary, and we were just about to our cars when we were approached by a band of Hare Krishners ringing their bells and dancing around, and I wasn't real sure whether we were trying to be saved or robbed, but Gary broke into his Deuteronomy Skaggs character and just told them, that they were going to hell and their lives would never be the same because he would personally speak to God about them. And they were so afraid, they just took off running, and they weren't afraid of going to hell, they were afraid of Gary.
Did you ever meet a man named David Dick?
No, name sounds familiar, but I don't recall.
Okay, just kind of, just for one, David Dick, John Zilliger, Kaywood Leffert.
Oh yeah, Kaywood. Kaywood is one of the all-time great sportscasters in the world. Called the Kentucky Derby many times, and also did a great stint in basketball.
Yeah, he's also he was he's a native of Harlan County.
Right. Yeah, and Van Vance. Van is great also as far as basketball. Van, first time I met Van Vance in our combo operation, you would be the jock would be on the air with his control board, and then there would be, for all practical purposes, a table on the other side of the control board, and the news people would come in and sit down at that table and do their newscast from there, and then the sports guys would come in and do theirs from the same place. And the first time I met Van, he was doing that, and Van, he spoke so low. He was down here like this, a very low voice. But the thing is, as you speak, as you gain lower resonance, you lose the decibels. Your voice gets very soft as it gets low, and I could not hardly hear him acoustically in the room. It was only the microphone that he was working on, and he just sounded like 20 feet tall on the microphone, but in the room you could barely hear him.
Oh, yeah. And one of the things about old Leffert was he would get on there and say, "Hello, everybody. This is Kaywood Leffert." I'll never forget that.
Well, yeah, he was every bit in his own right, as Milty was. Truly a star, a sage star. He was. He knew what he was doing, and he had a career that people today would just envy.
And this all started with a tube and your grandfather, right?
Yeah, Roger. Yeah, my grandfather was on the air before the FCC.
That's awesome. That is absolutely awesome. But yeah, there are so many different aspects of radio like amateur radio, that with broadcasting, television, TV, all the different things, and technology is changing. Like it was back in the 70s and 80s, it's constantly changing. Either you change with the times, or the times will change you. And that's what happens to a lot of them. But the ones that are really can stay in there, such as K-Wood and Metz and all of them, they have definitely left their mark on the industry. And he will be missed, definitely, at the Crusade for Children. That's something that everyone loved to see Uncle Milty. Back to you.
Oh, Roger, yeah, and the Crusade for Children, you can't talk enough about that. That was one of the things when I first came to HAS that I was found so outstanding, is that organization just put on the greatest show, and all the money that they got from the contributions, I would say 98% of that money went to the groups that were in need of it, and there was very little money that was used for the operation, the actual physical operation of the Crusade for Children, unlike a lot of other organizations that will take maybe 50%, 60% of the cash flow right off the top and delegate it for their overhead. That's ridiculous.
Well, it was amazing. In 1956, they raised $187,000.
Right, that's chicken feed compared to what they're doing now. I mean, what they were doing, just $6 million, I think.
Oh, it's unbelievable. It's actually unbelievable. The legacy that they have, everything they've done, you name it, it's just absolutely a great organization. To me, the organization, as a child, they actually provided hearing tests for children that had to have special hearing tests and stuff that the normal families could not afford, and WHAS was there.
Right, the Crusade for Children. And I'll tell you how apropos this may be. Let's end this with a vignetted program of the Crusade for Children. This was recorded back in the 70s, and it actually is a vignette of the complete program, and I think this would be very apropos. Remember the Crusade for Children and in donations.
Resolve quad split. Take camera 3. Stand by. Cue bell.
It's a most unusual day. Feel like throwing my worries away. If my heart won't behave in the usual way, well, there's only one thing to say. It's a most unusual, most unusual, most unusual day.
This is the 1979 Crusade for Children. From Kentuckiana and all across the country have come television and recording stars and hundreds of volunteers who have offered their services. But here are the real Crusade stars, the mentally and physically handicapped children of Kentucky and southern Indiana. Whether or not their lives can be made worthwhile depends on you.
There are people meeting people. There is sunshine everywhere. There are people greeting people, and a feeling of spring in the air. It's the most unusual time. I'm feeling my temperature climb. If my heart won't behave in the usual way, well, there's only one thing to say. It's a most unusual, most unusual, most unusual. Yes, it's a most unusual day.
ceremonies for the next 24 hours, Mr. Crusade, Jim Walton.
Thank you so much. And this is the reason we're all here tonight, for Sheila Thyler. She needs a helping hand, and I think we're going to give it to her. Tomorrow, when that last dime and dollar has been dropped into the fishbowl, she and thousands like her will say, "Thank you so much. You've done it again." Speaking of thanks, we'd like to thank some other people, Judy Marshall and Joanne Hale, of course, the Patsy Blewett Dancers, Dave Jones and his Motet Singers, and, of course, our big Crusade Orchestra directed by Mel Owens. Now, you know the purpose of the show. You've been here 25 years with us, I think, most of you. And you know we're here to raise as much money as we possibly can to help as many handicapped children in Kentucky and southern Indiana as we can. And our first entertainer is an actress and recording artist, and last night someone said to her, "What are you going to sing?" And I think I can quote her almost verbatim. It was something like, "Honey, I'm going to do it all." Della Reese.
Heave aside. I think how good it is just to be alive. I wish I might wish away your lonely night. Come on, let's ride. If it hurts so bad by the lives you've had that you close the door, you've been crying so long that you don't believe that you can laugh anymore. But this is the part of life, you see. Life is bitter, but life is sweet. Even darkness can bring you light if you're looking at the picture right. Now, listen to you. Ever been for a walk in a forest? Stop just a moment to rest beneath the trees. Did you notice you could look right through the leaves, straight into heaven? And you could almost hear the voice of my God on each and every breeze. Listen, stop right now. All the road to God comes on in every day. And you don't you find the way and smell the roses warm the way. Lord knows, my Lord knows, He knows.
What I want to know is, where's the energy shortage, huh?
Oh, listen, that's very sweet. But, I'm going to say this because I'm a stranger in town. And I've only
You're
been
not
here.
a stranger anymore,
Well,
I'll tell you that.
Thank you. I've only been here a couple of days, and I've learned a few things about this crusade in the last couple of days and about the people who run this crusade. They worked very hard for this crusade for you, and it's your turn to work very hard and show that their efforts have not been in vain. So while you're sitting there enjoying the show and enjoying the efforts of these people, please call. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Okay, I'm looking over and I'm seeing a man who has all of those gold records. Bobby Rydell.
Let me get in there.
Round of applause for that band, huh? You must have thought that I was lonely. You came to my rescue, but now I know this must be hell. How could so much love be inside of you? 'Cause this one's for you. Say that nothing's been the same since we've been apart. This one's for all the love we once knew. I swear it's true. It's all I can do. Can't you see? This one's for you. This one's for you. This one's for you.
Let's welcome back once again Mr. Dean Shepard.
More than the greatest love the world has known. This is the love I give to you alone. More than the simple words I try to say. I only live to love you more each day. I know I never lived before. My heart is very sure no one else could love you more.
Total on the board right now is 86,948 at about 12 minutes before midnight. This is Miss Yvonne Over.
Memories like the corners of my mind, misty watercolored memories of the way we were.
Is our board fixed back here yet? Yeah, I can read it now. $93,499. This is the fellow who is the all-night DJ, I'll have you know. From WKRP up in Cincinnati, that's just up the pike a piece. And you know him, of course, as Venus Flytrap. Let's welcome Tim Reed. Tim?
If you've ever wondered whatever became of
the whole theme song. I haven't heard that for a while.
Sound familiar?
Oh, yeah. It's nice.
Well, what do you think of the kids?
I've fallen in love with a little young girl over there. She's crying now, of course, because I've gone. You've crying.
Gone away.
Yeah. What's your name again?
April.
April, all right. And you have some money for me, is that right? Thank you, April. Wow, that's a lot of money. Can I get a kiss? Ah, it's all about love, isn't
it? Now, welcome Pee Wee King.
I was waltzing with my darling to the Tennessee waltz when an old friend I happened to see. I introduced him to my loved one the night they were playing the beautiful Tennessee waltz.
Can we do a little camera switch here and go over and find Gary Burbank somewhere with
You don't have to find him. Now watch him, Daddy.
We're going to find Gary somewhere because he is the one that is talking with the lovely young ladies who take your pledge when you call. Gary, isn't that true?
Yes, you could be talking through this, and it could be going into her here right on television.
Guess who I saw coming in here this morning?
Who?
Porky Chadwick.
You're kidding.
First time I've ever seen him this time of the morning.
This is when he's out normally. Now, these ladies are from South Central Bell. Two of them are from the Kentucky State Home for the Not Quite All There. I'm telling you right now. Strange. What is your name?
Sandy Donahue.
Sandy? Okay, thank you. You hung up on somebody just when I asked your name? Okay, but like, you know our telephone number, so give us a call. I got a few pledges to read. Mr. and Miss Jackie Trent of 5118 Fay Avenue, $5. Frank and Nellie Bird, Madison, Indiana, $24. Mr. and Mrs. Francis B. Whitehouse, Jr., 1301 Abbeywood Road, $120. Jerry, you got some pledges?
I sure do, Gary, and we just had someone walk up to the back door a while ago with a $5 pledge, $5 in cash, that is, in memory of Howard Stenson III.
$10,208? Yes. So that's tremendous. The squared answers are on their way. Look out, fire departments.
I'm Jim Michelle with Convenient Food Marts. We are happy to announce that this year's grand total is $8,000.
$6.91.
All right. $6.91. Can you go ahead and put it in there? Oh, got her open up all the way. $6.91 out of the Taylor brothers here.
I'm John Clark with General Electric, and I'm chairman of the Employee Community Fund, which represents all of the employees at General Electric.
General Electric Employees Community Fund to the Crusade for Children, $60,000.
Salem, Indiana, and Larry Brown's got a few words for us.
This year we have $10,197.92.
All right. It's $10,192.
Fisher Packing Company. This amount that they are giving this year amounts to $32 per employee. That total, and I'll say this one out loud, is $16,000.
We're getting close to $300,000. Look at that, $296,898.
Okay, and we're over here with the St. Matthews Fire Department with Rick Albers and Kent Monahan. Okay, what's the grand total?
Gives us a grand total of $25,500 even.
That is remarkable.
Mutual's here.
We think we'll just give you the figure and then we go home. $19,187.10.
$19,000.
It looks like a bunch of people from Middletown to me.
That's right.
I can tell them a mile away, Jerry.
What's your total?
The grand total this year is $20,004.41.
I'm here with the South Dixie Fire Department, and Chief, you have a few things to say?
We'd like to give this in memory of Charles Lee, the past chief of South Dixie Fire Department. A total of $16,670.40.
Fabulous. From the South Dixie Fire Department. Let's listen to it.
The Archbishop is with us, and this means a very dramatic point in our birth. You don't bring any boots full of money, but no, you bring the word.
We bring the word. That's important. Today's the word to get it out. Evangelization is the word.
Right.
So our grand total this year is $67,700.75.
We got another group of 30 or 40 volunteer fire department people, scouts, McMahon Volunteer Fire Department, and they got a new record.
And our grand total this year is $19,000 even.
$19,000 even from the McMahon Volunteer Fire Department. How about that? Pour it in.
We are ready over here. We have got the Okolona Fire Department with a cast of thousands.
$41,500.
Wow. $41,000. We are here with a group from Camp Taylor. This thing gets more incredible as we roll along. It's amazing. As you'll note on the board, we are approaching $900,000. And with Pat Wright, the chief at Camp Taylor,
Our total for this year's 1979 Crusade, $23,739.83.
Fantastic. That's it.
I want you to pay attention to some very important initials, some Milton Mets, and PRP stands for one of the great organizations, Pleasure Ridge Park Fire Department. When they come, silence reigns because they come strong, men, women, and children. And we don't know what they're bringing, but they're bringing a lot of good things.
And we have a grand total of $58,356.60.
I have lots of people, as you can easily see here, representing the Fern Creek Volunteer Fire Department.
Grand total was $17,189.86.
Oh, isn't that something? From Fern Creek Volunteer Fire Department, over $17,000. Give it, let me get out of the way.
Now the great thing comes forward from the Clark County Citizens Group. Right. And we have $48,725.87. Yay! Great!
This is Mr. George Krause from over in New Albany.
How you doing, Mr. Krause? My pleasure.
His daughter standing next to him.
Hi. How are you?
She's been a fan of yours since she was a teenager. Get over there and make her happy, huh?
I can't give you an exact figure because
we're still kind of counting money over New Orleans. Still has some money coming in. But I can tell you that it is in excess of $30,000.
In excess of $30,000. Phyllis, before the show, you remember you wrote something down in the book, and you wrote down your guess and my guess on the end of the show.
I think
we split it about 50-50.
We just about did, didn't we?
Uh-huh. You said 200, 1,200,000. I said 1,225,000. It comes out 1,217,572.
You know, our joy at this fantastic total is tinged with sorrow today because Jim is retiring. And Jim, you know, we found no way to package love and respect, but knowing your love of silver, we have a little gift for you. And I want to say it will be etched, and this is what it will look like. Wayne, would you hold it for the camera, please? With our love, Jim.
Too much. The only thing I can think to say is, I think personally I've gotten more out of it than anybody else has. I mean, it's been a wonderful experience, and one I'll never forget.
Well, we'll never forget you, Jimmy, and we come to the time when we must say to the community, thank you. Today we'd like to say you are the most generous people in the entire world. Each of you, from those of you who gave a quarter to $10,000, we hope you feel very proud of the total of the Crusade for Children for this 26th year. Those of us who have brought you the crusade are glad that we could be a part in providing the setting for your generosity so that all of our handicapped children will have a much better life.
God bless America.